There is no end to conspiracy theories about who built the pyramids. Frequently, they involve ancient aliens, lizard people, the Freemasons, or an advanced civilization that used forgotten technology. But there is another misconception that slaves built the pyramids. The best evidence suggests that pyramid workers were locals who were paid for their services and ate extremely well. Come on, let's see who really built the pyramids. The building sites of ancient Egypt were not simply hordes of poorly educated slaves toing and froing chunks of rock, but areas where skilled and specialized laborers plied their trade under the supervision of architects and engineers. Evidence suggests that around 5,000 were permanent workers on salaries with the balance working 3 or 4 month shifts in lieu of taxes while receiving subsistence wages of 10 loaves of bread and a jug of beer per day. Zai Awaz believed that the majority of workers may have been volunteers. It is estimated that only 4,000 of the total workforce were laborers who quarried the stone, hauled the blocks to the pyramid, and set the blocks in place. The tombs of supervisors contain inscriptions regarding the organization of the workforce. There were 2 crews of approximately 2,000 workers subdivided into named gangs of 1,000. The gangs were divided into 5 piles of 200, which were in turn split into groups of around 20 workers grouped according to their skills, with each group having their own project leader and a specific task. This Harvard Magazine article from Jonathan Shaw tells the story of how we found out the builders of the pyramids were not slaves but workers. Egyptologist Mark Lehner, an associate of Harvard's Semitic Museum, is beginning to fashion an answer. He has found the city of pyramid builders. They were not slaves. Lehner found the infrastructure which sustained the vast workforce committed to working on the construction of the pyramids. It started with finding a battery and followed by finding a goat cemetery large enough to feed an army. From these findings, he was able to devote the time and effort necessary to uncover the reality of the daily lives of ancient Egyptian laborers. These sites where regular workers lived hold some of the secrets of the most mythic human rulers in their ruins. Strangely enough, these areas bear many similarities to the modern world. All these allows us an insight into the forms of organization which build the pyramids. We see a huge number of workers supported by an artificially constructed town who are in turn split over and over into a small dedicated teams given specialized tasks. Additionally, given the physical and demanding nature of the work, these teams work on a few months or on a few months off like workers on a modern day oil rig, catering to human demands like family. These groups of workers would often, it seems, band together. The modern term union might not be wholly accurate given our current understanding of the word, but it appears workers organized to some extent collectively, though for what ends remains unclear. Harvard George Reisner found workers' graffiti early in the 20th century that revealed that the pyramid builders were organized into labor units with names like Friends of Khufu or Drunkards of Menkaure. Within these units were 5 divisions, their roles still unknown. The same groupings, according to papyrus schools of a later period, that served in the pyramid temples. We do know, Lehner says, that service in these temples was rendered by a special class of people on a rotating basis, determined by those 5 divisions. Many Egyptologists therefore subscribe to the hypothesis that the pyramids were also built by a rotating labor force in a modular, team-based kind of organization. The difference for Lehner between the highly skilled workers and the lesser skilled workers who received lower pay and had to be there lay not in the difference between worker and slave, but in a cultural understanding of owing to the society. Lehner currently thinks Egyptian society was organized somewhat like a feudal system, in which almost everyone owed service to a lord. The Egyptians called this back. Everybody owed back of some kind to people above them in the society hierarchy. But it does not really work as a word for slavery, he says. Even the highest officials owe back. In his paper, Lehner makes the comparison to an Amish society in America where all members pitch in to raise a barn. They are not necessarily paid to do it, but they have an unspoken social commitment on behalf of the community to put their labor toward a common project. In our society of formalized give and take with contractual agreements, we struggle to conceive of social comparisons, so often consider the payment of this back as akin to slavery. Lehner's point would be that the labor force of the Giza builders was made up of highly skilled workers and citizens who owed back. Workers, not a slave labor force. This video clears that the Egypt pyramids were not built by the slaves. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to know more like this, kindly subscribe to Pencildz YouTube channel. Thank you.